Kelim Perik Yudalad, Mishnah Zayin. Now we're going to go back to a din that we learned when we started Kli Madchas, beginning of Perik Yud Aleph. The din there was the din drabonon that Kli Madchas, after you break it and you remake it, is chayzer letumosa hayeshana. It goes back to becomes, although when it's broken it's tar, when you remake it, it goes back to the original tumah. Now, if you remember, going back to the beginning of Perek Yud Aleph, there was actually a machlokas between the Tanna Kama and Rabban Gamliel. Between the Tanna Kama and Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. The Tanna Kama holds that the reason why the Rabbanon were geyser to Mosai Yishan of the Kli Madchas was because people weren't able to distinguish between the two methods of me being Matayr a Kli. One is putting it in the mikveh and one is breaking it. When you put it into the mikveh, the Torah says, it only becomes Torah after Her Shemesh, after you wait till Shkia. Breaking is Matayr straight away. But people would confuse the two and they would say, just like when you break it, you don't need Her of Shemesh to make it Torah. Huadin, when you toivel it, you don't need Her of Shemesh, and they'd completely be mevatel the din of Her of Shemesh. Therefore the Chachamim said, breaking a Kli Madchas isn't Matayr it completely, so that when you remake it, it's actually Tomei again. And we explained the exact reasons of the Takana, the Gzera, when we did that Mishnah, why it applies specifically to Kli Madchas. So please, I refer you back to that Mishnah. However, in that Mishnah it said that Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel said the reason why the Chachamim were going to Tumah Yeshana was nothing to do with this business of Tful Yoim and Mikvah. Because it only applies to Tumas Meis. Tumas Meis, when a Keli becomes Tomei, Tumas Meis is Tomei for 7 days and it needs Hazor, Gimel, Vazayin. So people won't wait to be Matayr at Kli Madchas with the sprinkling of the Mechatos, Hazor, Gimel, Vazayin. People won't bother. They say, what do I need it for? They just smash it and it becomes Torah straight away. So the whole din of Mechatos, of the waters, the Paradum, will be completely forgotten. And therefore, Kadei Shalotish Takeach Toras Mechatos, they said when it comes to Tumas Meis, we're not going to allow you just to break your Kelim and make them Torah, and if you do and remake it, then it becomes Tomei again. That was the machlokas over there. Says about there's different ways of learning this Mishnah. Many ways of learning this Mishnah. We're going to do the Parish of the Baal Tanura, which is the easier way of learning, based on the Parish of the Rush. That the ratio of the Mishnah, where we see a machlokas between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Shua, is in fact described exactly again in the Sefer in detail. So let's do it. Kli Madchas mitamoin umitarin shavurin divrei Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer is the one of this Mishnah is going to be more makel than Rabbi Yeshua. And this is his kula. Mitamoin umitarin shavurin. The word mitamoin, according to Rabbi Eliezer, is not really explained. The main chiddush of Rabbi Eliezer is that mitarin shavurin, which means you have a Kli Madchas, which is Tomei for 7 days. You have to do Hazar on day 3 and then again on day 7. Says Rabbi Eliezer, if for instance, between day 3 and day 7, let's say on day 4 or on day 5, or even actually on day 3 itself, after you've done the first Hazar, you then break the Kli, then remake the Kli, whether you remake the Kli on the same day, day 3, or again on day 4, and day 5, or day 6. Says Rabbi Eliezer, you can do a shortcut in the Hazars. You can do the second Hazar, instead of waiting the normal wait of 4 days till day number 7, says Rabbi Eliezer, it's a special kula, because we're only dealing with a din drabonon, that the Keli becomes Tomei again when you remake it. Therefore, we can take a shortcut and say that as long as you have, just like in a real case of Azar, with Azar Gimel Vazayin, you have Azar on day 3, you wait 4 days, and then you do the second Azar, says Rabbi Eliezer, we will allow the breakage between the two Azars to act as the wait of 4 days. So, according to Rabbi Eliezer, you can break the Kli on day 3, do the Hazar on day 3, break the Kli, and do the second Hazar after you remake it also on day 3. So that way you're cutting out the 4 days. It's a kula based on the fact that the whole din of Chayil to Masay Shana is Kadesh Shtakeach Teres Mechatos, because here you're actually doing the pattern of Hazar Aleph and Hazar Base. Although, albeit you're not actually having the gap of 4 days, because here instead of the gap of 4 days you've got the act of breaking and remaking, says Rabbi Eliezer, that's enough. That's enough in order that you shouldn't forget the din of Teres Mechatos, and therefore, as long as you have 2 hazars with a break in between, you don't actually have to have a full complement of 7 days. It's an incredible kula. The Tosefta actually has other kulas in Rabbi Eliezer. What happens if you do the breakage before day 3? You can look it up there. Rabbi Shuaim, says the Mishnah, Einon mitarin elo shleimin. That means there's no difference whether you break a kli or don't break a kli. You can, everybody's minded that the hazars actually have to be done on the kli when they're whole, not in the broken state. However, Rabbi Shua says, just like in a regular kli which hasn't been broken, you've got to do it on day 3 and day 7. Who are done on a keli which is broken and remade? Also, the hazars have to be done on day 3 and day 7, although it's only a drabonon. Okay, so now the Mishnah is going to explain what I just said. His Arlein, according to Rabbi Eliezer, his Arlein. You did the first hazar on day 3. Nishbru boy b'yom, they then break on day 3. Hitichon, you remelt it and remake it. V'chazav hizar lein shenis boy b'yom, and do the second hazar on day 3. Harei l'tahirin divrei Rabbi Eliezer, because we are mekel. Rabbi Yeshua, no special kulas. The normal rule applies, and it probably so that Rabbi Yeshua doesn't actually hold of the whole view that this Tumah Yeshana is anything to do with Teras Mechatos and only with Tumas Meis. It's the other reason. Tumah Yeshana is a general reason they insisted that with Tumas Meis of the Tumas Matches, it goes back to Tumah Yeshana because of the reason, like I said at the beginning, because of Tful Yoim. Therefore, it's got nothing specifically to do with Tumas Meis. And therefore, in the case of Tumas Meis, you've got to follow the normal patterns of Tahara. No matter when it breaks, you must do hazar on day 3, you must do hazar on day 7, and of course the hazar must be done on the kli when it is in a sholem state. That's that Mishnah. We've got one more Mishnah to do on